Okay, now we're ready to go.
Great. Okay, good evening. I am Sandy McKee, the chair of CB6. This meeting is called to order at 7:03 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Secretary Justin Goldberg, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth, and Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. So welcome to the full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board, February 12th, 2025, full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. We observe the following ground rules. New York State law states that all community board members who are not able to attend the meeting in person must have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is
Can't hear you, Sandy.
called to order until the time the meeting is.
You're breaking up.
Does anyone have?
No, it seems like a connection. You said you're breaking up.
Just continue.
Okay. It is important that only one person speaks at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said. Members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session and have not
You're breaking up.
done so already, I think we're having a technology problem. Yeah. If you are on Zoom, you can submit the form in the question and A feature using your name, your affiliation, and the specific topic you wish to speak about. If you are here to speak in person in the public session, you need to fill out our public speaker form, which is near the sign-ins for the CB6 newsletter by Brian. This needs to be done by 7:15. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you.
Can't hear you.
Okay. Well, I'm not talking.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, we're waiting for the agenda to appear.
Okay.
Sorry. We seem to be having a little bit of a technical problem this evening.
Well, I'm with you.
We're
Letting you know when you're being received.
hoping to have the agenda up, but okay. All right, seeing no objections. I'm sorry? That's next. Our Secretary Justin Goldberg will take attendance by roll call.
We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, when your name is called, please say present. Majed Abdul Samad. Tanya Arias.
Present.
Kyle Atide.
Present.
Barclay. Martin Barrett.
Present.
LB.
Kyle. See him.
He said present.
Freezing. Let me try this.
Martin Barrett.
Present.
Marty is.
Barrett.
Oh.
LB Barroso.
Present.
Jim Collins.
Here.
Stuart Desser.
Present.
Beatrice Desmond.
Present.
Desmond. Maya Donahue. Robert Fairfan.
Present.
Barack Friedman.
Present.
Can't hear.
Bromowitz. Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Justin Goldberg.
She's here.
Paige Judge.
Here.
RuPaul Kakad.
Here.
John Keller.
Present.
Nadeem Kalani.
Present.
Katie Lambda.
Present.
Sandra Left Off.
Present.
David Levy.
Present.
David Lowenstein. Steinstein.
Absent.
Absent. Anton Allner.
Present.
Sandra McKee.
Present.
Alec Militic.
Present.
Richard Mintz.
Absent.
Tell. Stephen Perez. Marion Roth. Michael Ann Rowe.
Absent.
Lawrence Shire.
Present.
Anne Seligman.
Here.
Sandra Sherrod.
Present.
Olivia Shrednick.
Present.
Rubin Siddiqui.
Present.
Letty Simon.
Present.
She's here.
She's here.
I just said present.
Susan Steinberg.
Got it.
Present.
Okay. Mark Thompson.
Absent.
Gabriel Terzo. James Vera.
Absent.
Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Sarah Whittington.
Present.
See her.
She's frozen. Yeah.
Yeah, here I am.
Got you, thanks.
All right. Present.
Quorum is present. Quorum is 24. We have 35.
I think I was missed. Jason's here. Yeah. We got you.
We got it.
Someone else answered for you, it's fine. Our elected officials sent in their reports ahead of time and were compiled, and they are compiled on the CB6 website. The link to the reports was sent out ahead of time and for your convenience can be found in the chat on Zoom or by going to our website's page for board meetings. I will now call on each of the elected officials who RSVP matter or on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted list. We have Biani Rodriguez from Councilmember Rivera's office.
So I see Carly, the council member here, actually, on Zoom.
Okay, Councilmember, would you like to speak with us?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but it's bedtime. So for those who don't know, this is Benny, and he should be going to bed any minute. And he was really interested in the meeting. So I wanted him to see our local level of government and of course civic engagement. And so he knows what I'm doing all day. But today was a really interesting day. We out of the land use committee, we passed Innovation East and Spark Kips Bay.
Yeah.
So tomorrow it will go to the full board, you know, for approval by the entire council, but passing the land use committee obviously is a very, very big milestone and getting the project approved and on its way. So in my district, I know there's probably at least a rep here from Councilmember Power's office, but you know, Spark Kips Bay is a huge development. As you know, there's going to be a new high school and a STEAM center inside, and thankfully, because of negotiations, there's going to be a brand new pedestrian bridge on East 25th Street. Innovation East, which is a single building across the street located at 455 First Avenue, is something that I was working on, and I want to thank this board. I came here really to thank you all for your guidance and for your resolution, which was absolute gospel when it came to negotiating with the development team and EDC. I've negotiated quite a few ULURPs with EDC. They're never kind of an easy bunch, but I have to say that so far what we've seen is that this is going to be life science, biotech lab space. The project will obviously bring employment and educational opportunities to the community along with public benefits. That includes public facing event space, free meeting space for the community board and other local groups in the area. Public improvements to 27th Street Pedestrian Plaza and Mount Carmel Place, a contribution to a local group to help maintain Bellevue South Park. So that's an annual contribution over the next 10 years. And of course, I think if that goes well, that should just be an ongoing amenity that we receive, which is additional support from the city to maintain one of the few open green spaces that we have. And some other things that are coming, we got 30 additional pre-K seats and other investments locally. So, it's I would say that the project itself in bringing not only already established institutions to really build out that life sciences corridor that we've been working on for a long time is a good thing. And they're going to be working with the Lower East Side Employment Network to ensure that we're also getting local people in there working in addition to educational opportunities. So I just wanted to bring that update at the very top and say thank you in your assistance with negotiations. I know also with Councilmember Powers, we wanted to make sure that we were looking at your resolution and then all of the other things that come up and just living in the Community Board 6 area in our everyday lives. So tomorrow's the final vote. There's always sort of negotiations up until that point. But again, I just want to thank the board. The other thing I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention is we've received a lot of calls, as you can imagine, about some of the messaging coming from the federal government. And so specifically around ICE's presence in New York and immigrant New Yorkers and their rights. And so we did join the New York Immigration Coalition and local community leaders at St. Mark's Church in the Bowery to really denounce some of the dangerous rhetoric around certain populations and just letting people know that New York Immigration Coalition is a group of really fabulous New York-based groups that have been doing this work for a long time. And they have a number of Know Your Rights workshops and webinars that are going on. And so in my next e-newsletter, if you don't subscribe to that, I encourage you to. We put a lot of work into those newsletters that go out every 2 weeks. But I'm happy to send the community board this information as well. We've compiled a list of resources just so people could understand kind of what's going on and what their rights are. When I say so people can understand what's going on, I'm saying that just to be very honest, as someone who is also sort of living this out day by day in terms of some of the executive orders that are put out there and some of the messaging that's coming from the federal government. So trying to manage it day by day and also get people as up to date and correct information as possible.
Recording in progress.
So I guess the last thing I'll add is there've been a lot of questions on the availability and provision of health from our local institutions. And many elected officials did recently contact NYU specifically about their decision to end gender affirming care for certain individuals and New Yorkers. So we're waiting for an answer as to why. We're happy to have a conversation with any institution in New York City who has any concerns or questions about federal funding or how they're going to be supported to provide care. And I feel confident in saying that my colleagues and I will really, I feel we really have to be strong in times like this and just be courageous in calling out what we think is an injustice or really a disservice to any individual. So I just really wanted to come in and give a couple updates. There's a lot going on. There's a ton of information that is being put out there, and the news, I can say, is a bit overwhelming, even locally, right? Even in City Hall. But just know that your city council is working, and Speaker Adrian Adams and a number of us are really looking for any challenges that are coming into the city, even from our own mayor, what legal options we have, what we can do legislatively, and clearly what we can do with the budget to make sure that we're supporting community-based groups that are doing good work. So with that, you have the report. I really do hope you subscribe to our e-news, because there's a ton of information and local events that are coming up. I guess happy Black History Month, happy Lunar New Year. A number of celebrations going on in the area where we're really celebrating Black excellence and joy, and the Year of the Dragon. And so even in the most challenging of times, just taking a moment to really value and celebrate arts and culture and our great city.
Great. Well, thank you for coming. I think we have questions. We'll try and keep it brief because it's your son's bedtime. But we'll start. I think Jason was the first one to have his hand up, and then we'll go to Stu and Tanya.
Not a question, but a appreciation comments. Thank you for your recent co-sponsorship of Intro 1160, which requires the Department of Transportation to install paving or lines on roads after they're resurfaced within 5 days. Our board passed a resolution recently asking DOT to install temporary protective measures after roads are milled and repaved, and I think this is along the same line of making sure that our streets the street safety works is maintained throughout the reconstruction projects within the district. So just wanted to say thank you for that.
Stu.
And let me just add that the bill also includes reporting every year on March 1st, so we can have a better idea of what's going on. But I agree it was long overdue, and thank you for the resolution.
So you mentioned the ICE policy around sensitive areas. You broke up at one point, so I might have missed this, but you know that Mayor Adams also changed the city's policy on January 13th. Is the city council considering any action that might counter that?
Yeah, this is, thank you for the question. The executive order that went out around sensitive places, locations, that's when specifically the New York Immigration Coalition and a number of us have really joined together and organized to make sure that people know their rights in case they do find ICE trying to get into a school or try to get into a hospital. These are what they call sensitive areas. I will say that I've met with the Department of Education and specifically our school districts and those superintendents. And there is a clear-cut protocol for if ICE tries to enter a school. As for hospitals, we're getting that information as well, though I think Health in Hospitals has been, I want to say, I know that they all report to the mayor, but I thought pretty upfront about welcoming any person, regardless of status, in to get quality care. And yes, we are looking into how we can challenge specifically this memo that has recently come out of City Hall, not only on sensitive areas, but on some of his comments regarding like sanctuary city. I know he's testifying in DC in terms of like what that means, but as you have also noticed, this was like the living room. I would just say that, he's kind of just put the city up for this pardon. I'm sorry, this is just how it feels, is that it was one thing for another. So we're looking to do this in a professional and legal way to challenge anything we feel that is not only unacceptable, but out of bounds, to put it as plainly as possible.
Okay, next, Tanya.
Ben is ready for his bedtime. Thank you so much. As you know, I'm sure you know that DOJ just filed a lawsuit against Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul to try and impose the rules on immigration. Is there any legal strategy on the parts of, do we have legal recourse? What are the plans? I mean, intentions are good and, you know, getting organized and such is good, but I think we may have to take it a couple of steps higher.
I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, I have to say, like, our how we started the city council was, you know, all this information that's coming out, it's creating even a specific initiative within the council called Protect NYC Families, which did not exist before. So we're even trying to bring like funding to support groups doing this work and legal services as well. As for the DOJ and like taking on Hochul and everything else, which is just, it feels like a movie. It feels absolutely bonkers. It's obviously a disservice to New Yorkers, and it's really divisive and really harmful to people who are trying to run government effectively and do their work. So we're exploring every option. The speaker, office of the general counsel, our legal department, we're seeing what we can do as a council to try to push back against this and take this on. It's obviously unacceptable. Many of us are just the sort of pervasive, evident corruption and the participation in it of the executive branch is it's jarring, and it is we're angry. So we're gonna see what we can do. We want to make sure that New Yorkers feel protected, and clearly we're going to be working with, you know, allies in the state government to see how we can sort of combine our you know, our powers combined and see what we can do. It's also just so,
Thank you.
if I could just thank you for the question. It's just the constant barrage of information and not even necessarily true information, right? It's just constant news, executive orders, comments, attempts. Maybe he's going to do this, maybe he's not. So we're trying to keep up with it. But we have some really talented people that really care about our city. So hopefully we should have an update as to what the council is doing in collaboration, in partnership with our allies and colleagues in government. And I'll make sure I bring that to you all as soon as possible.
Thank you. Can we wait for next? We're having trouble.
Yeah.
We're having a lot of trouble here. So
Yeah.
I think
Let me switch which internet I'm connected to.
yeah, sorry.
Maybe that'll help.
It's an internet issue.
Yeah, it is an internet issue.
I'm sorry, we're having technical problems here.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, if you come to 250 Broadway, you can barely get on the internet. It's like, so I get it. I'll hang out here. I don't know if anyone has any more questions, but I certainly want to be available to all of you because I'm really thankful for this space.
Okay, now we're back, I think.
And apologies from our side, we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, we've literally changed internet connections.
Right, so that was the dead air.
Yeah,
and
but yes, all the more reason we need funding to have a large space that we can have control of.
We're looking, Innovation East has promised us 1 day a month, possibly. So hopefully, I'm not sure we have other questions, but we may get those to you in writing. But thank you so much for coming, and
Good night to Ben.
good night to Ben. Yes, so nice to meet him, and thank you for all you do. Next we have Joanna Sanchez from Assemblymember Epstein's office.
Okay, thanks everyone. I just wanted to say good night. If you need anything, please contact my office. This is Oscar. This is the baby.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Is Senator Gonzalez with us, actually?
He is.
Oh, boy.
Senator Gonzalez, would you like to?
And just a general warning, we're having trouble.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Are you able to hear me and see me?
Yes.
Amazing. Well, hi everyone. Good evening. I am tuning in from Albany. We're up state right now during our legislative session. As you know, that started in January, so would have loved to have been there in person with all of you, but I am actually chairing a budget hearing tomorrow, so very excited and have to remain in Albany. I heard some of the previous conversation, happy to answer any questions, but very briefly before we get into what's happening with the federal government, wanted to provide some brief updates from our office. In terms of our work in Albany, I received my committee assignments last month. I am continuing my chairwomanship of Internet and Technology, but the exciting announcement is that I've also been promoted to chair of elections. So I'm one of the few members with two chairships or chairwomanships. And elections is a really critical committee in this moment because it's really a way that we're able to protect our democracy, protect our election integrity, given everything else that's going on. So very excited to do work doing just that in Albany. In addition to that, I'm on the Consumer Protection Committee, Energy and Telecommunications Committee, the Health Committee, which I know is very relevant to what is happening with the hospital systems in Manhattan, and the Children and Families Committee, which is a new committee for me, but happy to be a part of that as we pursue universal childcare and making the city more affordable for families. Since the session has started, I've passed 3 bills, including an elections transparency bill that requires websites to disclose if they are funded by PACs, and then another bill on protecting consumers from increased charges or termination of service from utilities companies when they're under investigation. So if your utility company is under investigation for malpractice, you should not lose your service. You should not be charged late fees. And I'm really proud to have passed that through the Senate. And then finally, today we passed the chapter version of my Loading Act on government use of AI. So it's been a great start to the legislative session. Bringing it to our in-district work, of course, we had our monthly office hours last month at Kips Bay. We're having our next one, and we had one yesterday, I believe. And we're having our next one on Tuesday, March 11th from 2 to 5 p.m. And then we've been working on a number of issues in the district. So as you all know, NYU Langone is part of my district, and unfortunately, as a result of an executive order from the Trump administration, canceled some of the appointments for trans youth under the age of 19 who are receiving gender affirming care. And when that happened, we worked with the Attorney General's office to make sure that there was clear guidance. The AG since has put out guidance saying that is clear discrimination. And yet, even after organizing a rally where thousands of New Yorkers showed up, and organizing a press conference where myself, Assemblymember Epstein, Councilmember Rivera, Councilmember Powers, Senator Hoylman, and so many of our other electeds showed up to support, NYU Langone hasn't actually publicly commented and is slow rolling, setting up a meeting with myself and all of our other overlapping elected officials. Harvey and I sent a letter as well. So we'll be following up with them, but just wanted to update you all on the real work in the district. And again, the press conference, the rallies, and the pressure we're applying to NYU Langone. On a similar note, we've been, recently on Sunday, attended another rally to protect our immigrant community, protect immigrant New Yorkers, given the guidance from Mayor Adams on, as you heard Councilmember Rivera mention. We definitely think it's actually in our best interest to make sure everyone feels safe going to the hospital for public health reasons, but also, because we want to make sure that we're maintaining our own values as a city and not sacrificing them simply because we have a mayor who is clearly compromised. And so we're doing a lot more just resisting the federal administration, and then here in Albany having really hard conversations around our budget process, which just started. We submitted our budget letter on yesterday on Tuesday, which set our priorities as an office, but also had 89 requests for in-district funding. So we're talking about how we make sure we're protecting our state budget and also taking the budget that we have and investing it back into our communities. So thank you to the folks in Manhattan who submitted requests. Those are all in now with the legislature. So I will stop there and I'm happy to, oh, sorry, one last update. I know we had concerns around Flintstone, which is a cannabis control, Flintstone, which is a cannabis shop. We sent a joint letter with Assemblymember Epstein asking that the Cannabis Control Board chair deny the secondary supplementary application for the 822nd Avenue location. 822nd Avenue is actually very close to our office. So, very right around the corner. And we did get notice of receipt of this letter, but we haven't had a follow-up since. So our office is actively trying to follow up and put pressure there. But I do want to note that, we are keeping track of that situation. So with that, I can stop and take questions.
Well, first, we want to thank you for all you're doing. We certainly appreciate the letter and yes, a lot going on in the district. Do we have any questions for the senator? Stephen?
Hi, Senator Gonzalez. Congratulations on your new role in the election committee. It's actually that very topic that we had a question to ask. This board passed a resolution in November that called for some changes to be made to the Independent Redistricting Commission, which determines how electoral maps are drawn in the state. It requires a constitutional amendment. So while this won't happen for some years, it will require 2 successive legislatures to pass the bill, and therefore the work should be getting started soon if we are going to make changes there. And because the redistricting process was such a mess last time, I'm wondering what kind of an appetite there is in the legislature to amend the constitution so that we can have a really fair, independent electoral map drawing process in the future.
Yeah, thank you for raising that. So I know myself, I know Assemblymember Epstein and other electeds that represent you all, had some reservations about how this process happened. Obviously, we had, as a result of the redistricting, a split primary, which wasn't ideal. That's unfortunately, disenfranchising for a lot of voters because they didn't even realize we had split primaries between the assembly primary and the congressional and Senate primaries. That was in 2022. Obviously, last year we had, we're able to have all our primaries at once. But so all this to say, we shared some concerns and frustrations with the process to the point, to your point about whether there is an appetite for a constitutional amendment. I don't necessarily think there is. And what I would offer is, now that these maps, even though they've been challenged, now that they've been confirmed, now that they're law, I do think, at least speaking for my district, not speaking for the other districts that were drawn, I think there is a cohesion in our district, and that is really for a few reasons. Along the waterfront, we talk a lot about waterfront resiliency. We have several flood zones on both sides of the East River, so I think it's important to note that there is cohesion there. We, even from the perspective of health, when it came to Mount Sinai Beth Israel, which of course is located within CB6, 2 of the highest served zip codes were in Brooklyn. So it really mattered to our Brooklyn residents. When it comes to, for example, the issue around cannabis, one of the largest cannabis shop owners is the same one in Brooklyn. So I believe Flintstone as well is still an issue on both sides of the district. The Queensboro Bridge is on both sides. You have the Midtown Tunnel represented on both sides. But then there are larger things that unite us. I think housing being a ever growing stress on New Yorkers. Of course, green space. We fought so hard on both sides, including, right here in CB6, where we have some of the most starved for green space neighborhoods in the city, right in Manhattan. These issues, I think, really do unite us. So, while I certainly share the frustration in the process, I think where we're at is working on health, housing, green space, and more, and all of the things that I think are common ground between at least my Senate district.
Thank you.
Katie has a question. Please go ahead, Katie.
Sure. Thank you, Sandy. I was wondering, Senator Gonzalez, if you have any insight into the progress on 2 bills in the state legislature now concerning immigrants. One is the New York for All Act, and the other is the Dignity for Immigrants in New York State Act.
That's a great question. So New York for All in access, sorry, you said dignity, not detention? Is that the second one? It would be.
The second
Dignity.
one is called Dignity for Immigrants in New York
Dignity.
State Act.
Okay.
It's Senate 1359. It's a
Okay.
newly introduced bill.
Got it. If it was recently introduced, maybe our office hasn't received requests for co-sponsorship, so I'm happy to take that offline and see. But as far as New York for All goes, I know there's a lot of broad support. I've been to multiple press conferences here supporting it, rallies, and I've spoken to my colleagues about it. Just for context, you know, New York City is a sanctuary city. What New York for All does is kind of extend some of those protections upstate. So it wouldn't necessarily change anything here downstate, but it would at least make our, you know, standardize how we approach the issue of immigration across municipalities. You know, hoping to get it passed this year. And I think, you know, with this momentum and given what's happened, there's a good chance we'll get it passed, but I don't have necessarily, I guess, it hasn't come out of committee yet. It's still very much a fight. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
Senator Gonzalez, thanks a lot for coming. I was wondering, given that the legislative session has started, what's the best way for community members to stay educated and the best way to stay engaged?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So, given what is happening in the federal government, I think what we do in the state legislature matters so much more. We are the last line of defense now, and obviously this administration is making it their business to come for New York. So I certainly could use all of you staying up to date on what we are doing. We have a newsletter. I would certainly encourage folks to sign up for my newsletter. We put a lot of information out, you know, even events that we co-sponsor, like we did an immigration roundtable with Congresswoman Velasquez, or Know Your Rights trainings, things like that. So if you can join our newsletter, social media as well, we post a lot about what we're doing. And then of course we have our official Senate website where you'll see all of our statements, all of our bills, and you're able to keep up to date with at least what I'm doing. You know, those are some methods. You know, you're following the news, but just, you know, please follow myself and the other overlapping electeds, and then reach out to our offices and please encourage your neighbors to do the same. We are very moved and are able to concretely, with numbers, support the things we're working on when we can say X number of constituents have called about it or emailed us about it. So, you know, I would not only encourage you all stay up to date, but continue to reach out to your elected reps. Because it actually supports the work that we're already doing.
Thank you.
Great. I think that's a good question to end on. So
Yeah.
we all have a job to do. But thank you so much. And
thank
well,
you. If you will indulge me, I do want to note that similar to the city council, the state legislature is having a lot of conversations about what happened with the Department of Justice and Mayor Adams. I think this is an issue that every New Yorker should be paying attention to. We have a compromised mayor,
Yes.
one that is really, you know, using his elected office to essentially benefit himself, protect himself at the cost of all of us. So we are having hard conversations here in Albany about what the next steps are. Our office is organizing around this. So we'll keep you updated on what we are doing. The governor does have the power to remove the mayor, but we don't think that is likely. So we are also working with the Attorney General's office and working with other colleagues who have bills on, you know, giving her office power perhaps to investigate the mayor, investigate the deal that was made, and more. So we're doing the same thing. And, you know, I certainly appreciate the work that City Council is doing, and we'll keep you all posted. But I, you know, just wanted you to know that this is top of mind, and this is now our new normal. So we're going to have to continue working together to hold our mayor accountable and, you know, fight the federal fight that we're in. So with that, thank you all so much and have a good night. Please feel free to reach out, Gonzalez at nysenate.gov. And Peyton from my team, I believe, is here as well. So thank you.
She's here. Thank you.
Kyle. Bye.
So next we have Joanna Sanchez from Assemblymember Epstein's office.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. As Senator Gonzalez stated on the letter that was sent to NYU Langone, please note that a copy of the letter is in Assemblymember Epstein's newsletter. We do have some upcoming events, your Recycle E-Waste event, and we're having other events that include pack care kits, which will gather together as a community to push back against the recent rise in hate by creating care packages for neighbors in need. We will only get through this, of course, challenging time by taking care of one another. And we also have a care kit drive, everything as well as in our newsletter. And we have some upcoming events of Women's History Month, Black History Month, and we have like events that we did, one of our Lunar New Year events as well. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions or concerns. And I'm sorry, one more thing, Harvey, Assemblymember Epstein also did an announcement announcing Bridge to Home at Bellevue Hospital. And everything could also be in the newsletter. If anyone has any questions, feel free to contact me, and I'm here.
We have a question here in the room. Anne Sullivan.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I have a sort of a suggestion that I'll phrase it in the form of a question, which is, and thank you for these incredibly detailed, it's really terrific. So one of the items in there was about jury duty, which is referred to as a 16-hour shift, but it's actually more like 17 hours. Partly thanks to the fact that it's great that our state has such long hours for voting, that we go from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. The election workers really, they have to be there at 5 and they don't leave until 10. And I think it's great that the assembly member is trying to increase the wages for that. I think it might actually be more effective in getting more poll workers, and honestly a better quality of poll workers if it was split into 2 shifts, perhaps 2 9-hour shifts, so there was an hour for overlap. And the one question I wondered what the reason is for not doing that, if there's any kind of legal continuity question. But I think it's, instead of raising, and obviously there are additional training costs and that sort of thing, but I think it's an avenue worth exploring.
Okay, thank you. And so your question was as well, why is it not 9-hour shifts, correct?
Well, I think if you are rethinking how to improve the Board of Education, Board of Elections, ability to hire good poll workers, I don't think just increasing.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
The best way to do it.
The short answer is yes. That was the question.
Yes, because the internet is in and out, so I was having a hard time.
Follow up.
Yes, please feel free to.
Yeah. And we'll follow up.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that. And next we have Justin Flagg from Senator Kruger's office. Thank you, Joanne.
You're welcome.
Hello, and nothing to add to our report, but happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Justin? No. And not this evening. Thank you so much. We'll follow up with any questions on offline. Patrick Hill from Councilmember Power's office.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to just quickly highlight a couple things in our report. I know Councilmember Rivera already spoke a lot about the land use actions that were voted on and passed in committee today at the Land Use Committee for the City Council. But just wanted to highlight a couple of the things that were included in the agreements for Spark, Kips Bay, which we're very excited about, and there will be voting on tomorrow. That will include a brand new high school, as she mentioned, a brand new STEAM center for Manhattan. This will be the third STEAM center citywide, and it'll be the first in our borough, and it'll have the capacity to enroll 600 students per year, and we'll partner with priority Manhattan schools, about 10 Manhattan-based schools each year. Obviously, the new CUNY Healthcare Campus, partnering the flagship schools, Hunter College, Borough of Manhattan Community College, and the Graduate School of Public Health and Health Policy. We were able to work with CUNY and EDC to make sure that the dorms at Brookdale were fully replaced, so that the 648 beds at Brookdale will be fully replaced. There'll be 578 beds at 569 Lexington Avenue, and another 153 beds at 334 East 79th Street. That actually increases the number of beds by about 80, I believe. It's going to be a total of 731. So there's an increase in dorm beds, which is we're very excited about. And we were also able to get commitments on educational programming for nonprofits focused on science for local elementary and middle school students throughout the neighborhood. The program will be funded by EDC at $100,000 per year for 5 years until the completion of the public school facility at Spark. And they'll procure one of several educational providers of science education who will coordinate with priority schools in our area to deliver life sciences curriculum. And, an expansion of the available 3K seats, as Councilmember Rivera mentioned, a new state-of-the-art facility for OCME. I could go on. There's a lot more. We're going to be putting out a notice tomorrow, hopefully post-vote, to, convey all of the benefits that we're getting along with this project. I believe part of that is, coordinating with the Department of City Planning and Community Board 6 to find new sites for potential future housing, and trying to work with CB6 to, get you guys a new office space that you guys so desperately need. Just want to, on top of that, I just want to quickly separately highlight, we're going to be doing a resource and job fair event with a group called Commissary. They're a New York City social experience, and they have a history of delivering over 50 million meals across the 5 boroughs. They serve nutritious, diverse, and culturally meaningful meals to underserved communities. This event in particular, they're going to be having a job and resource fair where they'll have tables from different organizations, city agencies, bids, mock interviewers. The fair will be ideally an opportunity for attendees to learn about potential job listings and or companies' goals at large, and get resources that they can utilize in their day-to-day life. Those are the 2 things I wanted to highlight. We also did put in our report that the application for City Council funding for the upcoming fiscal year is still open, but that will be closing on February 19th. So be sure to apply for council expense funding by then. If anyone has any questions, you can definitely reach out to our office, and we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Patrick? Okay, Michael, please go ahead.
I want to know, the Brookdale door is being replaced, so I wanted to ask a question. What will replace it, or is it the as Brookdale? And will there be an effort to move the students over from one dorm to another? I'm asking if as someone who was 100 college stories, so I want to know, because I was sure they're talking about the same thing.
Sorry, it was coming through a little, it was cutting in and out. Was this a question on how are they handling the transition of students from the current Brookdale campus to the new dorm sites?
Yes, but I also want to know if the prices are going to be as affordable, and if it's probably going to replace it.
That is,
Because there's going to be sanitation rush.
Yeah, sorry, I did not mean to cut you off, but that's a wonderful question, and something I definitely should have flagged when announcing that. The dorm costs will be the exact same rate, the same flat rate that the students at Brookdale are currently paying. So they'll be able to go to these new sites and pay the same flat rate that they're currently paying now.
And Michael, at the office, we had brochures about the new building that's going to be put in place there, which the council members, staff mentioned. So we can give you that so you can see exactly what's going to be there.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Patrick.
Of course.
Next we have, oh, sure. Thank you. Mackie Bentley from Representative Nadler's office.
Hi there, everyone. Hi there, everyone. I just wanted to take this time tonight to talk about the state of the country. As you all know, this is very concerning times right now. And Congressman Nadler does not fall deaf on him. And he's taken this very urgently, and he is sounding alarms off the legislation, litigation, and saying what's right when it needs to be said. At this moment in time, what's most important is speaking up and making your voices heard in every way possible to combat this blitz of attacks on democracy. And it works too. Pressure does work. After his unconstitutional order to freeze federal loans and spending, he backed down. And then also, when he threatened litigation, or he threatened tariffs to Mexico and Canada, he backed down. So, with all of this, we know that when we use our voices and we use pressure, that it can work. And with all that in conjunction with things being happening in the courts, there's various legal litigation happening on his executive actions. So with this at all fronts happening, and Congressman Nadler, as the senior member of the Judiciary Committee, making his voice heard in combating these, FBI and purging of inspector generals, birthright citizenship, and various different things, he's making his voice heard and doing what he can in Congress. So with all that, a lot of things happening right now. To stay up to date, please follow him on Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook for all the most up-to-date notifications. As always, if our office can be of any service, or if you have to want to share any thoughts, concerns, please feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to help any way we can. But that's all I have to
Sorry, Susan?
Congressman Nadler going to hold a town hall or arrange for some protests? We need some action here in the city.
Yeah, no, of course. That is definitely something that we are looking into. And that is something that we're in discussions about right now. So like I said, please, follow him via newsletter, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky. Please do so. There's the things we're in discussions about. And if we do, release something, that'll be first to, be released. So please look out for that. That is something that we are in discussions of.
He needs to get off Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya?
Well, Jerry Nadler has my full confidence, and I really have always loved him. Does he have support from other members of Congress on his fight, or is he fighting this alone? That's one question. The other question is, what can we concretely do to help him? And because we're all running around completely. I'm calling all of my representatives, but I don't know if they are following through. What can we do for Jerry Nadler to help him in this fight? And are there others fighting with him in Congress?
Yeah, so, everyone within the New York delegation, all Democrats across the board, all in support with his endeavors and the collective endeavor of, kind of push back these executive orders, and, the various ways they're trying to stretch our system. And to your point, a way to, help the congressman, help everyone else is, not only to contact our office, but just make your voice known in various ways. Letting us know exactly what's on your mind helps us know how we need to react and what we need to do. So that's definitely something, if you hear something, concerned about something, please let us know, because we log all of that and we review those daily. So there's that. And then also, well, too, there are comment sections for the White House. They're the source of all these, executive orders. That is something as well too, that you can, log your concerns and let them know. Like I said, with, the tariffs, and federal freezing, once they felt the pressure, they back down on it. So it's just keeping up that pressure, keep them accountable and not making, this, perception a reality. So that's what I would recommend.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Next we have Robin Forst from the mayor's office.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Well, not seeing all of you, but anyway, technology. I wanted to talk about a couple of things. The first one is the Summer Youth Employment Program. New York City has the largest youth employment program in the country, and it has been around since 1963, so it has endured. It is open to people between the ages of 14 and 24. The application process launched at the beginning of February and closes on the 28th of February. So if you have young people in your family, neighbors, friends in that age range, please, and they're looking for summer employment, please have them apply at nyc.gov, summer youth employment. It's a paid job. And there is also SYEP, that's Summer Youth Employment Pride. So if there are people who are interested in LGBTQ leaning opportunities, they can apply for that through the regular application process. So anyway, it's a great program, and it's a great opportunity for young people to enhance their backgrounds and resumes. I know that there have been a couple of issues that have come up, and I wanted to circle back on a couple of them. The first one we've talked about here, scaffolding, and the extended periods of time that scaffolding is up around buildings. And I know Stu, I guess, is one of the leads on this issue. And I wanted to let you know that the city council I'm not sure if you're aware of this, the city council at the end of June held a hearing on a package of bills all related to expanding the power of the Department of Buildings, specifically in the areas of scaffolding. I'm happy to offline give the office the bill numbers and so forth. The administration, this is a city council legislation. The administration is in support of the legislation, and the prime sponsor actually is Keith Powers. And Patrick is here from the office. I would encourage you to reach out to learn more about the status. There was a question about the opportunity to weigh in and offer recommendations. I think that's a great idea, and I think you should try to do that through the council member's office. The types of things that the bill will focus on will include a different kind of structure. It will require the removal of construction equipment if there's no active work going on. There's going to be a pilot program for the use of drones to facilitate and expedite certain inspections. So it's a pretty full bill, and all it has to do is come to the council and pass. So I encourage you to reach out to Keith's office, and if you have other council member representatives that you feel would be helpful, you should certainly reach out to them as well. The other thing that had come, or another thing that had come up at a recent meeting, was the use of drones by NYPD in the crime fighting arena, and there were concerns expressed here about the privacy issues, what the drones are recording, what the drones are keeping, and I wanted to highlight a few things about the program. The police department now has 100 drones, various sizes and capabilities, and 110 or more than 110 qualified operators. What I think is important to know is that all recorded footage is deleted after 30 days unless it's being used to investigate a crime or capture an arrest or evidence that needs to be preserved for prosecutions, but otherwise everything is discarded. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you, just happened, is that there are no analytics or biometric measuring technologies beyond the processing of thermal data. There is no facial recognition technology. The police department does not conduct facial recognition analysis. A still image can be created from a recorded video, but it's not a face recognition technology. So I hope that answers some of the concerns about protecting the privacy of people who just may be in the park when the drones are looking around. And with that, I will take any questions.
Stu does have a question for you.
Is that Stu?
Thank you as always for being with us. Bearing with us. As your business is conducted in committee, and frequently at committees, we depend on our guests, whether they're from within or outside of government, to educate us. And sometimes we also act sort of as a forum where different guests get to talk with each other, and there's actually cross conversation and business gets conducted at our meetings. We get great cooperation from both the state and the local legislators. The district attorney's office has been terrific. The one hindrance has been the executive agencies in the city, who often will ghost us, or they'll respond irrelevantly 3 months later, or suggest that we, and I don't, this isn't a euphemism, but suggest we go someplace else for the information that we want. What do you think the mayor's office could do? Could the mayor, for instance, issue a directive that his agencies are to comply with the city charter and actually cooperate promptly with the community board? That would be my question. Thanks.
Well, that's a big question. I think that, you know, our presence here is a sign of the commitment of the executive branch to be participants in community activities and community structure. I understand that in this case you are intending or hoping to have Department of Buildings attend a committee meeting to answer some of the questions that you have. I think that's great. I also would suggest, in terms of what you're looking for, in terms of improvements to the scaffolding arena now, it might be helpful to hear, Patrick, your office, council member Powers, that the legislation to change the laws around scaffolding originate in the city council. They are working on that. The city, the administration supports the changes and enhancements that the city council is discussing. I'm not sure what else you are looking for. I'm happy to speak with you offline to pursue this further.
Not
But
limited to that one issue.
I'm sorry,
I'm asking.
Stuart, I can't hear you.
This is not limited to that one issue that you're discussing. We've had this with different departments. We've had this with the same department on different issues. It's a general problem. There are some departments that are more responsive, and sometimes they're more responsive in some cases when they have more of an interest, but it's not uncommon for the city's agencies to not respond to us or to respond way too late.
I'm sorry to hear that. I obviously don't manage the agencies and their responsiveness, but if there are specifics, let's please talk about them, and I will, from the Community Affairs Unit, do what we can to push those agencies to be more responsive in a more timely manner than they have been. And more than that, I can't offer really, but I'm happy to try to move that along and increase the responsiveness in a timely way by those agencies that you're, really concerned with or have not gotten the kind of response that you would have, that you would like to have.
There, thank you, but just so you understand, I mean, we appreciate the individualized attention we've gotten in certain cases, but we can't, I don't think, come to you every time, but we might.
Well, we've made some progress, I think, on some of the issues that you've raised. And while I certainly won't take responsibility for being able to address all of them, I will try to get you the answers you need and try to get the agencies that you're looking to hear from to be more responsive. No promises, except that I will try to do that.
Good.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
We have one more question for you.
Okay.
I'd like to use the elephant in the room and ask, given the mayor's legal position and there's recent shift on policies, could you address how we should feel about the mayor's current repositioning on immigration enforcement, and if you can give us any sort of feeling on why we should trust that the mayor is still acting in the interests of New Yorkers, where it's clear that he's been put in a position to appease the federal government.
I don't think that's a question I can really answer. I can speak for myself. I work for the mayor. I continue to work for the mayor. I continue to believe in him. There are issues that people have, and I think people will have to form their own judgments. Listen to what the mayor says, watch what the mayor does, and you'll form your opinion. There's been a lot that has been done under this mayor in terms of crime, removal of guns, closing of smoke shops, reducing the cost of childcare for middle and lower income families, the removal of 20,000 guns from the illegal guns from the streets. I mean, these are all accomplishments that, are separate and apart from what is in the news today and yesterday. And I really do think that you need to listen to the information and make your judgment. I can't really speak to that for you.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sandy.
And I believe there's one more question, but no. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next we have Sophie's. Thank you. We have Sophie Secor from Assembly Member Boris's office.
Hi, everyone. Not much to add, but I did want to flag some upcoming events. We have our mobile office hours on March 6th from 2 to 4 at the New York Society Library. If you want to come meet the Assembly member, we would love for you to come by. We have a mammogram truck coming to our office to do screenings on March 14th. You can call our district office to schedule an appointment. And we also have the mobile MTA truck coming to our office on Monday, April 28th. No appointment needed. If you have any issues with MetroCards or anything of that sort, you can come talk to their team. And the last thing is we have New York Legal Aid Group coming to provide legal services on March 31st, April 24th, May 16th, and June 23rd. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
I don't think we have any questions for you this evening. Thank you. Has anyone signed up to speak in the public session?
They have. We have you. First on the list, if this person could come up, Howard Kessler, a resident of Manhattan Community District 6, who wishes to speak to the board about the New York Catholic Center's conversion to apartments and the closing of the high school and church. This is at 1011 First Ave between 55th and 56th. Mr. Kessler, if you could stand right here and address the board. You have 3 minutes.
I think you summed it up beautifully. As many of you may or may not know, there's 55th and First. There used to be the New York Catholic Center, which is relocating. They sold the building, and as part of the assemblage there's a beautiful high school and a parish that will more than likely be closed. And in light of the mayor's efforts for supportive and inclusionary housing, affordable housing in the heart of District 6. I see this as an opportunity that the community board should really take a look at as far as the mayor's program goes for new schools and affordable housing in D6. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have Jennifer Gunsberger. Is she still here? Jennifer is the co-president of the Beekman Place Association and wishes to speak to the board on numerous restaurant closures in the Sutton Place area. Jennifer, are you here? I feel like she was here earlier. Might have had to go. Okay, well, we'll go to the next person and try Jennifer once more before we move on. We have Dasha Nekrasova, who is a resident of Manhattan Community District 6 and wishes to speak to the board on a building that's being constructed at 303 East 44th Street. Ms. Nekrasova, you have 3 minutes to make your remarks. You may begin now.
Great, thank you. Good evening to the members of the board and neighbors, and thank you for the opportunity for letting me address you today. I'm here to express strong opposition to the construction of a high-rise tower at 303 East 44th Street. A project I think is not only disruptive, but unsafe and frankly doomed. The work site in question has recently been issued an environmental control board violation when an inspector found the sidewalk shed was not up to code to commence drilling operations. The citation includes a partial stop work order, which the developers have failed to comply with. The adjacent building, 307 East 44th Street, some of you might be familiar with the Beaux Arts apartments, have already been deemed unsafe due to local law 11, which stipulates that a building must pass a facade inspection every 6 years or have the brick repointed. a project for which the building is already slated and which is already begun on the sister building across the street. Brick repointing is a necessary process to ensure the safety of both pedestrians and workers to prevent falling debris. Yet, the workers on the high-rise site are expected to operate a drilling rig directly underneath this already unstable facade. This poses an imminent safety risk as well as probable damage to the Beaux-Arts apartments already in need of maintenance per local law 11, as I mentioned. The drilling, excavation, and foundation work is highly likely to damage not only the facade, but the foundation of the Beaux-Arts building, which is a designated historic landmark. This is the building. This is a rendering of the building. If it gets built, it'll be the skinniest skyscraper in the world. And I believe that a massive cartoonishly skinny high-rise built on the adjacent lot to the Beaux-Arts building is not only a safety hazard, but a threat to the integrity of a historic landmark representing a key part of our community's architectural history and distinct charm. This development is not appropriate for the character of our neighborhood. It will be an eyesore, a disruption, and a violation of the principles that landmark designation is meant to protect. The skyscraper was also developed by Aaron Chen at ODA Architecture, the designer of another majorly doomed project, The Torch, on 748th Avenue. Construction on this equally ambitious and hideous project was stalled last year due to multiple issues with seemingly no plan to resume. During construction in 2023, dozens of safety violations and reported injuries were filed, in addition to the contractors owing over $2 million to a steel company for unpaid services. The Torch was planned as a mega hotel with an observation deck, has left a major gap in Midtown, causing financial strain and more safety hazards. We cannot allow similar negligence to affect our community. This raises serious concerns about the firm's track record and its ability to execute projects responsibly, if at all. Okay, well, basically, so I want to enforce a full sub-work order, hold those developers accountable for non-compliance. I want to ensure that there's no more construction taking place until the brick is repointed, and I want to block the high-rise altogether, obviously, because I think it's extremely ugly. Okay, thank you.
We have two, Anne-Marie, I think. Eva Marie, sorry, Eva Marie has a question first.
Can you hear me? I just wanted to ask if you had considered making a presentation to the Landmarks Commission. In the past, there have been sessions where the public can come the same way you've made a presentation here, because it sounds like the Beaux-Arts building is in danger, and then possibly there would be more attention in terms of stopping this construction, or has that already been done?
I've emailed them. I have emailed Landmark and they said that they could give the building potentially a recommendation of lawyers that could work with them. I don't own the building, I just live there.
No, I understand that, but I mean, on behalf of Beaux-Arts, the public in the past has been able to, certain times of the year, make presentations directly at the Landmarks Commission on certain issues, and your presentation here was very effective. I thought possibly that was under consideration, or maybe it had been done already.
No, but I'll definitely doing it. Thank you.
Jim?
I can speak. Just curious, do you know if the high rise that you mentioned is being built as of right, or if it was transfers? Yes, no.
What do you mean?
As of right means it otherwise meets all of the code requirements for that zoning district and what have you.
Yeah, it received its permits in 2016.
Say again?
It got, right,
And actually, I did a little research on the building. They were kind enough to share testimony with me earlier, and the building is as of right, but it has transfers of air rights. Yeah. And certainly we can discuss it in our land use committee, we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
It is difficult when it is as of right.
Yeah.
Have you talked with Department of Buildings?
I've tried, yeah. They're kind of giving me the runaround.
Can I make a suggestion on part of the land use, committee? If he wants to reach to landmark, like it said, if you could just make a presentation to us, get a little more information and try to sign up for the land use committee meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
I will do that, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next issue. Oh, was there anyone else?
Jennifer, last call. Are you around? All right, we'll get to Jennifer, perhaps some other meeting.
Right.
That concludes the speakers list.
All right, the minutes from the January 8th full board meeting were distributed to board members ahead of time by the board. Oh, I'm sorry, Susan.
This first speaker?
Yeah, absolutely.
You made a very subtle point, and I'm not sure what you are asking. Are you saying there's something wrong with what's going on, or are you saying, what are you?
I think that's an as-of-right project for the conversion of the Catholic Center. The fact that it doesn't do anything inclusionary for city housing is one issue. And the closing of the high school, that was Cathedral High School, that has a full gym and a black box theater, could be reactivated by charter school or the city, in some better purpose than luxury condos. Okay, that's.
Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, minutes. We're back to the minutes. If you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the minutes from January 8th full board meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CV6 website. The chair's report. I'll keep it brief. Budget request response. This is how we advocate for our district needs, and each of the committees has been asked to review the requests, and it's something that we want to do on an ongoing basis this year to follow up on any questions and to confirm next year's requests. We need to start this early. We need to make them to be viable requests. And it's really an ongoing project between the budget committee and each of the individual committees. Our advocacy has made some progress. We are one step closer to having a space that has been used for parking turned over to public use. This has been a long-term effort by the board and our council members, and we look forward to the official celebration. We won't actually celebrate until it happens. Yeah. But we are working. It looks hopeful. It looks very hopeful. A group has been formed within the Land Use and Waterfront Committee, and they're going to focus on the potential uses of the Mount Sinai Beth Israel site if the hospital closes. It looks like it's going to close. The lawsuit apparently should be fine, or the judge is going to look at it finally at the end of the month, but it's not hopeful. A reminder that if you choose to support a candidate in any of the upcoming elections, you can do that yourself as a member of the community, but not as a member of CV6. Please do not identify yourself as such in any candidate's election materials. There are two new charter review commissions, one's by the city council and one's by the mayor's office. So we need to provide input on both of them, and I think we really need to look carefully because the last time this happened, things actually got voted on and changed very quickly. A reminder to members to use the form that comes with the notice of the meeting if you are requesting to attend remotely instead of emailing the office. Before the meetings, office is pretty busy, just fill out the form. Say you're not coming, you can't come, you need to do this a different way. And it's how the office keeps track of quorum as well. So any questions, let me know, but hopefully that's straightforward. And yes, a very heartfelt thanks to Senator Gonzalez and Assemblymember Epstein for supporting our resolution regarding the Hallmark closing and the potential leasing. Our district manager, Jesus Perez. Oh,
I'm sure that the, for the charter revision commissions.
commissions, yeah.
Yeah. Will those be being discussed in, budget and governmental affairs?
I believe so. There are also very specific housing and land use issues that have come up. We've received a pretty good memo from George Janes, our urban planner, recommending some of the issues that we need to talk about. So I think it's multiple committees. There may be some education issues as well.
So we should, be keeping an eye on all the agendas.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Wait.
Wait, okay. Olivia Shrednick will now give the treasurer's report.
Okay, so according to the Office of Management and Budget, as of February 3rd, 2025, the CB6 budget is $612,004, and that's including street fair money. The encumbered funds are $10,152. The liquidated funds are $347,737. The encumbered and liquidated funds break down as follows. The rent is $177,905. Personal services is $161,252. Other than personal services is $18,732. The unencumbered funds total $254,113, of which $142,811 are street fair funds. Thank you.
And for those who didn't memorize that, it will be in next month's minutes.
I got it down.
Okay. We've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. A reminder that the same rules stated at the beginning of the meeting still apply. Members of the public, please note that during this section of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. The CB6 staff emailed the digital ballot to all members. Please click on the link in your email the staff sent to open the ballot, select your name, and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented. At the end of the meeting, please submit your ballot after you have indicated all your votes. Do not submit it prior to the end of discussion on the proposed resolution. You will not be able to submit the ballot, excuse me, unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. This will count as a negative vote. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. If any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand and we will address your question. Okay, agenda, Parks, Landmarks, and Cultural Affairs. Neil Barkley, Chair.
Okay, hi, good evening, everyone. For the meeting, we had the library manager at Epiphany Library, which is on 23rd Street. She told us about different programs that they have at the library, especially those programs that are available for the retirees, seniors, elders of our community. We thought that was really important because that demographic we should put more attention and focus on them and, I guess like highlight some of the programs and services that are out there for them. In addition, this is something we've missed over a few times. I don't know if Kevin is out there in the audience, but I just want to recognize St. Barton's Park Conservancy and then the work that they have done on the St. Barton Park with making it ADA accessible. It's important that everyone has access to the park. So hats off to the Conservancy and Kevin's leadership. That's it.
Okay, any questions? Oh, Jim.
Hey, Neil. I walk by St. Barton's Park, there's a basketball court there next to PS40. And I noticed as I walked by, there was a top loader. A top loader moving in debris of some sort. And it's apparently related to the, I would presume local law 11 compliance for PS 40. It's fine now that they're storing heavy equipment there now. This is the basketball court. It's fine now, I mean, nobody's gonna be playing basketball in February. But do you think we can resolve it, make sure that that space is open and available for, residents for basketball, say April?
Yeah, so that's definitely a court that I've played at many times with my son. So what's going on is that there's some updates that is going on to the facade there at PS40. So unfortunately, the equipment is it's going to be there for some time. But we had asked previously, because you have the renovation of Augusta St. Gaudens Playground coming up shortly, if we could keep the basketball court open while the playground was being renovated, being done over. But that, turned out that wasn't a possibility. But unfortunately, the equipment is going to remain there for some time.
Do you know how long?
Anyone else?
Sorry, he asked how long? Do you know that, Neil?
Oh,
long is
no. I mean, don't quote me. I've heard a couple years. I've heard, so honestly, I don't want to give it, definitive timeline because hopefully maybe it goes away tomorrow. Just try to stay optimistic. But honestly, I don't know. I mean, as soon as possible would be fantastic.
I had the occasion several years ago, but I believe it was, during Councilmember Carlina's term, that, Carlina Rivera's term, that, where they were also storing equipment there for some general purpose, I don't remember what. But it's a designated park space and it shouldn't be used for storage, so.
Great, okay. Next up, we have Jason Fromowitz from Transportation.
Good evening. We have a couple resolutions tonight. The first is related to establishing a policy and procedure for reviewing parking regulation modification requests at the entrance of residential buildings in Manhattan Community District 6. This was to address a issue that came up in a recent application for no parking in front of a residential building. There was some concern with that request in committee, as well as then in full board when that resolution came to full board, that we didn't have a clear policy for how we would address these types of requests, and so that we didn't have a clear method and approach for how we would evaluate these. So this resolution basically will set up a policy for how the board would review such requests, basically outlines the information that we request from an applicant, formally where the location is, what type of changes they're asking for, ask them to come with supporting materials like petition or letters of support from building ownership or building management. Basically, just spells out the policy for what applicants should submit if they want to see changes in front of a residential building, and how the board will go about evaluating those decisions.
And
I actually have a question on both resolutions, but I will, so that's just fair warning. On this one, I think it's great that we're trying to kind of define under what circumstances will allow this, but it still seems really subjective. And I'm not sure what we can do to make it more objective, but yeah, I'm not sure this is it either.
It was less of an issue, or the goal was less to make it an objective process, but just to make it clear that there is a process and what an applicant would submit to make such a request. Yeah, so that the information is out there that members of the community know how they can go about doing so that they can go about doing so. But yeah, ultimately, the decisions, as Jackie pointed out, the resolution sort of suggests how the committee should, look at those and evaluate those, how they should evaluate such a request, but ultimately it's left as discretionary.
Yeah, because it's a little bit of a contrast to what we do in business affairs where we say like, okay, if you agree to these stipulations, and they are specific stipulations. again, I'm not sure how, a sidewalk, but just a thought.
Tanya?
I think it's a great idea, Jason. And when do you expect to have these parameters set up?
If we pass the resolution, tonight, then, that would be the policy of the board.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks.
Anton? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just going back a step, does the Department of Transportation, DOT, have specific regulations and or policies regarding the use of city streets and parking?
In terms of where,
Yeah, where this should be requested, if it could be requested, how it should be requested, things like that. Because I see around the district, there are, particularly on Sutton Place, many of the high-rise buildings there, their entrances have the signs, no parking anytime. And it seems to me, as somebody who did both of the side street parking dance many years, that this is taking away parking spaces that can be used by other residents.
there is no policy, as far as I am aware of, there's no policy that DOT has specifically about when they will accommodate no parking requests, in front of buildings. I don't know if they've always done this, but, as of recent, requests for such no parking, they have been deferring, suggesting that the community board should take it up and that they would, instead of addressing it themselves, they defer to the community boards. But I don't know if I don't think there's any sort of official policy on that. That's just the direction they've given to applicants, to reach out to their community board if they want to see this sort of change.
B has her hand raised.
So I think this really addresses what the full board had asked for. It provides for a list of facts to look at when buildings make the request. It also allows the board to look at the entire street to see what other situations are taking place. And I think it's also important because it tells the building or buildings what they need to submit to present to the community board. So I think this is an attempt to have a uniform approach, but all decisions are always subjective. But at least you go through the various categories of it. And I'm supportive of this approach.
I also just want to add real quick, this is in the same model of resolution that the Transportation Committee passed before my time as it relates to street co-naming requests. Basically outlining, which that one similarly outlines the process for how you would apply and gives a general criteria for consideration.
Great. Jim?
Just very quickly, I kind of would like to see some metrics on this. So for example, somebody comes in and says they have a clear and compelling need, and the apartment building is maybe 5 units, single floor, basically rich people, okay? As opposed to someone coming in with a, say, in my case, 32-story building with 260 units on a main thoroughfare at 17th Street that goes, we get a lot of traffic on East 17th. I'm just thinking we're leaving it very subjective by saying clear and compelling need, and I would much prefer some metrics. A minimum number of units for the no parking space, daily traffic, that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you're there yet. I would suggest you take it back to your committee and discuss and add some numbers to it.
So I did consider that when I was putting this together. That was my original approach to this, was trying to come up with some set criteria for that these types of buildings would need to be. You need to meet some such criteria in order to for the board to consider your request. But basically where I got stuck was narrowing that down, and under what exceptions would still make sense. So if you said has to have X number of residences. What if it was a building that was all senior citizens, for all of those apartments? Does it make sense in that scenario for them to have no parking in front? Or if it's a big building, does that give preference towards people who live in larger buildings and presumably have higher income? So in where I landed was, I don't think there's any good way to set out specific metrics, and ultimately it needs to be looked at as a whole.
Mostly talking about loading and unloading.
Yeah.
For the no parking, that's the same as hotels.
And sorry, we have Jerry and then Anton, and then we'd like to vote on this.
Jumping off of that quickly, I'm wondering if some formula, so the density and status would be something to explore.
Anton, and then also Sandra has a question. Go ahead, Anton, you can go first. Oh, it's behind you.
It seems that the Department of Transportation is abrogating its responsibility. Maybe this resolution should be that we go to or recommend to the Department of Transportation that they promulgate rules about whether building entrance or whatever can change or can go to the Department of Transportation first, and then the community board will review it. For instance, same thing we do with roadway cafes. There's a set of rules, it has to be filled out by the applicant. Then it's reviewed by the community board as to whether we agree that such a structure or a roadway cafe should be in our district. So I don't think we should be making up rules for the Department of Transportation.
I just might point out that we can suggest that there's a sign there, but the Department of Transportation is ultimately the one that makes the decision. It's not us. So we're recommending that the Department of Transportation look at this location to have the sign.
Okay.
But Sandra has a question?
No, it's a comment. Yeah,
Okay.
I have some real concerns about this kind of proposal, period, because it can boil down to a class-based issue of who's going to propose this, who's going to go after it. And the idea of, I certainly know in my neighborhood where I see those signs, that's a class-based issue, and I would not support something like that. I'm fine with hospitals and et cetera, but once you start on individual buildings and who's got the power to do this with how they organize, I see it as class, and I would oppose that.
That's specifically what we're attempting to address with this resolution, is to avoid it being a class issue, in that we want to make it clear and transparent that there's a process to request a no parking zone. I think you're correct in that that's the status quo, that buildings who have the, are organized well and have the wherewithal to identify that they can go to the Department of Transportation, go to the community board to accept requests. Having this policy by the board makes it clear that there's a process that any building within our district could utilize to apply for changes to the parking regulations in front of their building.
And if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. So please mark your digital ballot. And just a reminder to the members of the public that during this portion of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board.
All right, I will use our next resolution. So our next resolution is requesting improvements at the intersection of East 18th Street and East 20th Street at NUC. Before I go into, I'll get into them. There's some to address. So basically we identified a number of concerns regarding safety at that intersection, and we're asking DOT to do a study and implement safety improvements to the intersection. There was some disagreement at the committee on this resolution. It currently also asks for changes to signage for the sites of Ferry. And there was some disagreement in committee, which is why you see a split vote here on whether or not that should be a separate resolution or if that should be included here as related to safety issues. After the meeting, we had a walkthrough of the area, and we came to an agreement on removing the ferry verbiage from the resolution, and we'll pursue another resolution separately addressing wayfinding for the ferry. And we had, I believe, a motion for amendment to address that.
Barack?
Oh, yeah,
So it's a friendly motion for amendment, and I think we all agree that the wayfinding, if we could take that out, with the idea that we could address wayfinding in another separate resolution, down the road.
Anne?
Yeah, that was in fact my other question. Because, and don't we actually already have a kind of a reso on record about the wayfinding issue there?
We don't have a reso, it's a matter that was taken up by the board, but never made it into a reso. There was a lot of back and forth with city agencies on it, but anyway, we want to address this separately in another.
Because
another way.
the draft that we all got in the full board packet does still include the wayfinding issue.
Yeah, so we'll have a.
So do we need a motion to amend the reso to remove that language?
Yeah, basically that's this would be the removal as displayed here, but yes, we do. We need
I
a
will
motion.
make that motion.
Yeah, I think that's what Barack did. So do we have to vote on that before, or we just vote on the amended resolution?
was it seconded?
Okay, Tanya saying, okay,
The easiest way is just to be clear for everyone, the amendment was to strike lines 32 through 34 in the whereas clauses. Additionally, to strike the resolved clause 45 through 50. Just completely take it out. That is the motion. That was seconded. The easiest way, if no one objects, is just to, is there any objection? All right, by acclamation, the resolution is amended. Now you may proceed when you're ready to vote on the resolution as amended.
okay. If there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your ballot.
Next up, the report. So last meeting, we hosted the Department of Transportation to talk about bus speed improvements, bus priority improvements on 34th Street. We're expecting to pass a resolution giving feedback to DOT in our next meeting, specifically urging them to go over the full busway as opposed to some of the options that they proposed were improvements that are not quite a busway. We expect that we're going to work on a resolution asking for a busway. And then lastly, some interesting city bike news, at the city bike dock on First Avenue and East 30th Street. That's going to be connected to the grid, and so it'll be able to charge e-bikes at those locations, as opposed to today, city bike has to go around and manually swap out batteries for each of the dead bikes. So that'll be a nice, exciting improvement. I think this is the first location in the city that will have those connected to the grid. So I'm excited to see that. So, there's a couple.
I have a question.
Person our district, I believe.
So will they also have non-e-bikes at that location?
Yes. Well, I'm assuming so. I don't know actually. We didn't get a direct answer on that, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect it to be exclusively.
Because there has been a huge increase in e-bikes versus regular bikes, and it's just, if it's on the map, it really should supply both. So it's.
I wouldn't we didn't specifically address that, but I wouldn't expect.
If you wouldn't mind asking,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
It's worth pointing out though, if a dock only has e-bikes, you have the option of taking it out at the standard rate on low assist mode for the newer models, which basically just like a slower version, same bike, but you can take it at a slower speed.
64-pound bike that's.
It operates
Let's
quite
not get
nicely.
into it. Let's just keep going.
I've
Let's
never
keep
been
going.
trying the lowest assist mode. That's a lot of thank you.
Okay, our next resolution is is from the Executive Committee, and it's a resolution to request support for New York City Health and Hospitals Bellevue in state and city budgets. And this was actually a time-sensitive issue because of the they wanted to get this in before the budget came before the Assembly and within the state. So this was put together with with that in mind, that we want to support the hospital because it will be where most of the patients who used to go to MSBI will now be directed. Are there any questions?
Is it already being supported and is this additional, is it already being supported? This is additional support?
Yes, they're asking for additional support. Okay, if there's no further questions, we can vote on the resolution. Please mark your ballot. And next we have business affairs and licensing. Anton.
Thank you. Let's go right to the resolution, version 2A, no objection for new on-premises license for Peggy's at 1043 Second Avenue. This is the old Angelo's Pizza Place, 56th Street. We didn't have any real issues with this. I did bring up that the principals of the new restaurant also own a restaurant on 57th Street called The Side Door. And I mentioned to them that it is a sports bar, and walking past there sometimes I check with my decibel meter that noise coming out from the restaurant with the windows open is more than 120 decibels. So they promised that they're not going to have that kind of music and noise from the new restaurant at 56th Street. In fact, it'll only be recorded music. Anyway, it will be a restaurant that's going to be serving mainly Eastern European food with some American overlay. We have no issues with this.
Okay, no one wanted to bundle these? Or do we? Okay. Sorry, we can't. Okay. We can vote on that. Please vote, please mark your ballot.
Now, I'd like to bundle B, C, and D. They're all for local cafe licenses. One for Cornerstone at 961 Second Avenue on 51st Street. Del Bartolo's on 49th Street. And Park Avenue Tavern at 99 Park, which is about 40th Street and Park Avenue. We had no issues with them. They appropriately fill out the right documentation, and we all voted to approve the Roadway South Cafe license. Now, as opposed to liquor licenses where we make a recommendation, the DOT requires us to approve the license application for roadway cafes.
Okay, Paige has her hand up first. Paige, go ahead.
I have a question. There is one application that is not included in this package, and I wanted to know what happened to it. It's the Tudor City Steakhouse.
Paige, we haven't reached that yet. We'll discuss that.
It's not on the thing at all. That's what I want to know.
That's correct. We'll get to it eventually.
Okay.
Tanya?
I could answer that question, but I won't. My question is for the Business and Licensing Affairs Committee. When the roadside cafe applications come in, are you aware of the fact that by the new law, the landlord of the restaurant has to give approval? Do you obtain that document as well before issuing an approval?
That's exactly what I'm going to talk about on the next resolution, or not resolution.
Okay.
This is Tudor City Steakhouse.
Okay, so let's vote on these. Please mark your ballots. Okay.
So B, C, and D are bundled.
Now we have E.
Okay. This is originally a resolution for a roadway cafe license for Tudor City Steakhouse at 45 Tudor City Place. The owner has withdrawn the application. Now, give a little background. When this was presented at the committee, some committee members had some objections to this, basically about parking and possible debris around the restaurant's old shed, which was there under the previous program. In any case, the committee did pass it with 2 abstentions. Subsequent to that, we received a letter from the owner saying she wanted to withdraw the application. And Jesus did check with the DOT that it had been withdrawn. Now, I think it's appropriate to say, and to answer your question about the landlord, I was not aware of that. We were not aware of that to begin with. And I think it's something that's to be checked out because we did find out that Tudor City Steakhouse did not have that particular permission from the landlord who owned the building. Now, we had assumed, like some cases with the Office of Cannabis Management, by the time we received an application, that would have been vetted, and that would have been part of the application process. And I think this is something we'll have to look into a little bit more carefully, as we're going to try to do with the Office of Cannabis Management in terms of the applications we receive as well. So this reso has been withdrawn, and no necessity to vote on it.
Okay,
Okay.
do you have a report, Anton?
We have to go.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more resume. Okay.
Trying to get me out of here.
Right, yes.
And just to be clear, the Tudor City withdrawal was very clearly in bold and red letters printed on the agenda. So it was there.
Okay, sorry, Anton.
Okay.
Go for it.
Resolution of no objection to operate a cannabis dispensary at New York Cannabis Company at 233 East 34th Street. This actually was, we'd like to meeting. I mean, before, sometimes, well, we receive these applications, we assume they've been vetted by the Office of Cannabis Management. Apparently, on their, what's it called, the
Notice to.
distance provision, it said 959 feet from another licensed dispensary, yet they did send it to us, assuming that was, 1,000 feet was the regulation, the 959, blah, blah, blah. Now we're notified the OCM has rejected the location, even though the applicant has signed the lease and has been paying rent. So again, go back to our government agencies. Should we be receiving applications that have not been fully vetted by State Liquor Authority, DOT, Office of Cannabis Management? We're not here to make sure that they did their job. We're here to make recommendations based on suitability of business being in our district. And it's disappointing to me that I have to say this, but here we are wasting our time at least on 2 applications that we did spend time reviewing, and we shouldn't even have seen them to begin with. Okay, my report. At our last meeting, we had a visitor from the chair of Community Board 3 Licensing Committee, and he raised us on the fact that our 3-hour meeting was very short. His sometimes run 5 or 6 hours. So, good for us.
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna talk about Flintstone, but Sandy, you've already mentioned that, and so did assembly person and Harvey Epstein's office mentioned that. Okay, we also had a presentation by Office of Cannabis Management via Zoom. I think we learned a little bit, but we didn't learn as much as I think we wanted to learn in terms of the application processes, and we did not ask them about completed applications received sent us. Because this didn't enter our mind, we didn't have to be a situation with New York Cannabis Company yet. Thank you. I received an email from, here I go, getting old. There was a cease judgment against.
Sound is breaking up.
There's also the petition. Petition James has been taking more seriously these types of shops. The one in Bay Ridge apparently was a very bad neighbor. It was just ignored any kind of closure. It just reopened closure. So no,
We can't hear anything.
No sound.
The meeting with OCM was really informative, and I'm wondering how we can, if there's a way to give the community more information, possibly to get the presentation that they gave to us to share that with the community so they're informed as well.
I think they did promise to send us the.
Yes, they did promise to send us the slide deck and to answer more fully the questions that we did not get to. Because we did send them the questions in advance, but they didn't see them. It's been some weeks, as you know. I followed up today, and they said that they're working on it. It's taking a little bit of time to source all the information that we've asked for, but they are working on it. So
But did they send us the slides?
they did not.
We followed.
We followed up this morning, so we'll follow up.
Thank you.
But for now, the video is preserved on our YouTube page, so.
Yeah.
And also you didn't mention my cookies from Paris either.
Oh.
Those, yeah, they were excellent.
Okay, we're moving on. Budget and government affairs. Stephen, are you presenting or is Matt?
Take it, I'm online.
Okay.
So the resolution we have there is that it's looking to remove the limit. But basically there's this idea that there's a cap on the number of Supreme Court justices in the system. And just to clarify for folks, this isn't like the US federal Supreme Court. This is a lower level court. And right now how it works is there is a cap on the justices. So each district can only have one justice per 50,000 people. This is a limit that hasn't been changed since the 1960s. And what this effectively does is it limits the rate at which cases can work through the system because right now there aren't enough judges. So there's a resolution that's going through the government right now to basically remove that. This resolution supports that bill. A lot of our electeds have come out in support of this and really just want to make sure it goes through. It's just been a process that's been discussed for a long time, but hasn't yet gone through.
Do you have any questions? Okay, Eric.
Just a quick question on the extent to which you looked into the efficiencies within our court system today. I'm sure this number is kind of low, but as just someone who's gone to serve for jury duty and other events, it seems like the throughput in the court system is awfully slow. You go into a courtroom, it adjourns at 10 o'clock, they do an hour of work, you go to lunch, and you come back out and you get an hour in the afternoon and then court is adjourned again. And I haven't looked into it enough. I'm just curious what questions were asked about the efficiency of courthouses.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good one. I've never served jury duty, so I've never had that experience. But I think there is like a separate point of just how can we make the system more efficient. We didn't spend as much time on it. I think this is something where this is in the government right now and getting this solved is one step of it. but aligned with you on the idea that we don't simply want to add more justices without thinking about how to think about the broader system. So would welcome, thoughts, as especially having gone through jury duty or other folks who are, spend their time working in the legal system on how to do that, because I think it's a good point.
Stephen?
I also wanted to point out that the New York State Supreme Court justices are very opposed to this legislation because they feel that it gives the legislature too much power to then decide where the judges go. We did discuss that at length in our committee meeting, and we still voted in favor of the bill. The bill has already, it's already passed both houses. It's a constitutional amendment again. So it's going again to be passed again, and then Governor Hochul, she's gonna sign it. So this is really just kind of voicing our support for it.
We know she'll sign.
We have indications.
If there's no objection, well, Larry, you wanted to say something?
I just have a quick question. You say it's a constitutional amendment, right? That means it would have to be passed by the voters too.
That's correct. That would be the final step.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your ballots.
And while folks are voting, the other thing I wanted to mention is this year we got our responses back on our budget requests recently. And this year, I'd say the one thing that if folks want to look at the Airtable for the budget requests, the responses have been a lot better than to other years, just more descriptive, more thoughtful. So I want to thank everybody for helping us narrow down the requests. I think that played a role in it. And I also wanted to just reinforce that, like, this is a good dialogue. I know Sandy mentioned at the start of the meeting, but this is a good way for us to talk to a lot of these different agencies and sort of get our voice heard. So as we go through the process, we're going to be starting it soon to go through the next year's process. We'll just make sure everybody's sort of aware of their committee's requests and sort of thoughtful about how we can word them, because we're getting really good responses, and it would be great to just keep that momentum going.
Thank you. Next up, we have public safety and sanitation.
I'll wave.
Okay, wave back. Health and environment, LV Barossa.
I wait my report, but I just would like to make an announcement that in our committee meeting tomorrow, we have a speaker from the emergency department at NYU Langone to speak about updates on CPR.
Yeah, we should warn them. There may be questions outside of that topic. Housing and homelessness, Rich isn't with us. Alec, do you want to give a?
I will waive the report.
Okay.
You can get anything that you'd like to share with the board.
Okay, all right, land use and waterfront, Gabe.
I was looking around for Majed. I guess you get the poor man's Majed here, but I'll do my best. We're gonna have a continued discussion of the water club at our next meeting. I encourage everybody to submit their input to us. That we should have an affirmative recommendation at the next meeting. That's what we're looking for, an actual resolution we can send to our electeds. We're going to talk about the traffic mitigation from Spark. We are, again, another possible resolution looking at increased bus routes, that sort of thing. We want to hold our politicians accountable so Spark doesn't create a giant traffic mess. Sandy already touched on the MSBI task force. Essentially, the hospital is likely going to close. We can maximize the number of portable units and the amount of medical infrastructure that is in whatever comes next in that space. And last but not least, the 197A plan, that's the long-term planning document for our district. Encourage everyone to take a look at it. We are looking at potentially making changes to it, perhaps putting a higher priority on housing as opposed to things we put a higher priority on in the past. So that's very important. So I couldn't waive it. It was too important. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions? No. Okay. And youth and education, David's going to give a brief update for us.
Just a 1-minute report. It was Kevin O'Keefe's first meeting as acting chair, so we're setting priorities for the year ahead. Areas we'll be looking at just include student mental health as it relates to phones and social media,
creating safer streets in front of schools during arrival and dismissal, as well as the possibility of using schoolyards during non-school hours for community usage.
And we had the first meeting of the tab for, and I forget the acronym.
It's Carpetta Children's Home. It's a pre-foster care it's for a place for children awaiting foster care, where their needs are met in terms of housing, school, and counseling services. And so CB, it's in our district, and we have representatives on their community affairs board. The first meeting was really just an introduction of their services, but we look forward to inviting them to participate in youth and education meetings and see how we can be supportive of their work.
Thank you. Old or new business. Jerry.
Hey all, Lydia and I are trying to further stand up and amplify our social media presence. So I see we have 512 followers on Manhattan CB6 on Instagram. I'd like to get that number to 550 tonight. So some of you I understand have phones. When I add that would be really great.
Will they follow back? Okay, any other old or new business? Okay. Our secretary will now conduct the second roll call.
Ballots, we need your ballots. There's still quite a few outstanding.
Thank you, Jason.
Members, I will now call on you for the second roll call. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so now. If you are unable to use the digital ballot, CB6 staff will ask you for your vote on each of tonight's resolutions. Majed Abdul Samad.
Absent.
Tanya Arias.
Present.
Kyle Atide.
Present.
Neil Barclay.
Present.
Martin Barrett.
Present.
Elvie Barroso. Jim Collins.
Here.
Stuart Desser. Beatrice Dismond.
Present.
Maya Donahue.
Absent.
Robert Faircamp.
Present.
Barack Friedman.
Present.
Jason Bromowitz. Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Justin Goldberg. Present. Gloria Hage. Rabia Iqbal.
Rabia Iqbal.
Present.
Paige Judge.
Present.
Rupal Kakad.
Present.
Sean Keller.
Present.
Nadeem Kalani.
Present.
Katie Landa.
Present.
Sandra Leftoff.
Present.
David Levy.
Present.
David Lowenstein.
Absent.
Anton Mulliner.
Present.
Sandra McKee.
Present.
Alec Militic.
Present.
Richard Nitz.
Absent.
Kevin O'Keefe.
Absent.
Reshma Patel.
Present.
Stephen Perez.
Present.
Mariam Rolfe.
Here.
Michael Anro.
Absent.
Lawrence Shire.
Present.
Ann Sullivan.
Present.
Sam. Sherrod. Lydia Shredman.
Online.
Anton, we need your ballot.
Yamubina's here,
Yeah, she's here.
and we're getting
Maggie
unstable
Simon.
internet.
I'm here. I'll give you my ballot. Somebody want to take that down?
I'll take it. 1 second.
Okay.
Susan Steinberg.
Transportation 2A.
The transportation one's in favor of both.
All right. The executive committee one.
In favor.
All right. The business affairs and licensing, the 4A.
Okay, in favor, except the last two will be opposed.
Okay. So that's in favor for 4A, 4B, 4C.
Yeah.
And opposed for
The last two. Is that,
99 Park.
no, the cannabis,
Opposed.
the two cannabis shops.
Okay, there's only one cannabis shop.
That's
And
the
it's
only
been
one.
withdrawn.
That's the only one. Yeah, that I want to oppose.
All right, so in favor for everything except the cannabis shop,
Yes,
but the
thank
cannabis
you.
shop has been laid over. Okay.
Okay, and
And
in favor on the
okay, for the Supreme Court.
on budget and government affairs, in favor. Thank you.
Okay. You. Now you may proceed.
Susan Steinberg. Mark Thompson.
Absent.
Gabriel Turzo. James Vera.
Absent.
Jerry Weinstein. Sarah Whittington.
Present.
There's one last ballot that needs to be submitted, and I'm working on it right now
Okay.
on someone's behalf. It'll take me only a moment. I just submitted it, see if it comes in.
Thank you. All right. For transportation 2A, the parking regulation policy reso, it passes 34 in favor, 4 opposed, no abstentions, no non-entitled. Transportation 2B, the 18th, 20th Street Avenue C reso, passes 37 in favor, no opposed, 1 abstention, no non-entitled. The executive committee reso regarding Bellevue Hospital funding passes unanimously, 38 in favor. The bulk 4A reso for Peggy's, it passes 36 in favor, 2 opposed, no abstentions, no not entitled. 3B on Stag's Head and Cornerstone Tavern passes 37 in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions, no not entitled. 4C, the roadside cafe for roadway cafe for Barolo passes 37 in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions, no not entitled. 4D, the roadway cafe for Park Avenue Tavern also passes 37 in favor, 1 opposed, 0 abstentions, 0 not entitled. 4E was laid over, so we move on. And the budget reso on the Supreme Court, justices 35 in favor, it passes, 2 opposed, 1 abstention, no not entitled. And that's the end for the resos. I hand it back to the chair.
If there are no objections, we'll adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:20.